Okay, so welcome everyone to my life, my business. Wish I was here, and this relates to really understanding that we take ownership of our lives, of our businesses, of our goals, and we remain fully present so that we can enjoy the journey of not just exploring but making progress towards achieving these goals. And so, we've kind of been on this track of goal achievement and so on. And last week, Shanaz brought us to, or challenged us to include in our list uh, the whole aspect of self care. And if you want to listen to this, you either listen to the playback on Clubhouse, but you can also listen to the uploaded and published podcast on the Mufasa Coaching Practice YouTube channel. Anyway, I thought just continuing with this theme in a way, different aspects of ensuring you're living a life that is rewarding, fulfilling, productive, and that all your decision making actually matters. So this is an aspect that I'm going to be touching on today as well. So I normally look at what's available in text and perhaps just search for something that we can discuss out of that text. And so today I've chosen a book by the entitled Focus by Daniel Goleman, and he talks about the hidden driver of excellence. So without further ado, he says sharpening our focus in a world of endless distractions is the key to professional success and personal fulfillment. So it's quite a rich framework that he presents, etc. So I'm just going to take an aspect out of all of this. So the central thrust of the book is about attention being the key to high performance in a world of endless distractions. So you can imagine what these distractions could be. It could even be things that other people bring into our world. It could be media, social media, emails, Twitter, Facebook, you name it. It could be somebody else's urgent affairs, somebody else's challenges, or it could be loving entertainment beyond reason, becoming couch potatoes rather than developing ourselves. There's a place and a time to enjoy binge watching something, right? There's a place and a time where you enjoy sunrise. But if we want to define sunrise, is that moment where the sun becomes visible on the horizon. It's no longer sunrise when it's still sitting in the same place and the sun is already overhead and in the middle of the sky, kind of a thing. And it's the same thing with sunset. Beautiful, right? Until there's complete darkness, sunset is over. You've watched it. Move on, do something else. And so, in the world of achieving your goals, personally, there are times when things become very sort of challenging towards achieving those goals, and so you become maybe a little frustrated because you're not achieving success, or you just feel you're getting stuck. Right? So, what do we say? Okay, let me just take a bit of a break and do something else. It's allowing all these other things that is supposedly just a break that actually takes us away from achieving our goals. And there's a couple of things. None of these things that I'm talking about are in themselves problematic. It's when those things become the dominant activity rather than making sure that those activities are aligned towards achieving desired outcomes. Now, I will talk about, yes, in harnessing especially those activities and aligning them in such a way to achieve your outcomes. But I'll touch on it now. Very South African word now, and very scientific. So, attention. What are we talking about? How do you keep your attention where a world offers us endless distractions? And the key would be is having strong selective attention in this way, which overcomes distractions, and so that we can actually immerse ourselves in a subject. And here's the point. So there's immersion, and then following on that is remaining in a state of flow. The inspiration is hit. Don't stop while the inspiration is flowing, so that you can learn and discover new things. And one of the keys that Daniel Coleman refers to is that, you know what? We sometimes live our life so much on autopilot, and we therefore miss the opportunity to fully embrace the experience of the present moment. When we go on to autopilot, we lose the reason why we are doing what we are doing. We forget actually what the purpose is behind the activity that maybe has become mundane, when all it requires is the discipline, the fortitude to keep going. It's like, okay, why am I doing it? This is where distractions take us off the path, and we kind of get out of the flow of what it is that takes us towards achieving the goal. So there are a few tips that he offers in his book, and one of them is, and these things are not rocket science per se, but it's the kind of things that if you practice them, makes perfect sense. He says, practice active attention in order to maintain self-control. So when you're in the flow, when distractions come and you feel you're just going with the flow, hang on, you're going in the wrong flow, in the wrong direction, which takes you away from where it is you want to end up. So you need to stay present and pay attention. I'll come back to this aspect of self-control. And one of the key things about paying active attention is understanding when you are pursuing a goal, you'll always have things in your way, barriers that come up. Sometimes you've anticipated them, and the strategies and the plans, the activities that you've identified that will help you get to your desired end helps you overcome these, but you can't anticipate everything. None of us has a crystal ball that can accurately, define all the issues that we might be presented with in the pursuit of our goals. But here's a subtlety, is that he's saying is there may be something that you are personally doing that's become a barrier to success. And if you don't pause, if you don't take note, you work harder at it, but you're doing exactly the same thing that's taking you even further away from achieving your goal. So the learning here is about, yes, quite simply, stop repeating the same mistakes. Meaning doing the things that take you further from your goal or preventing you from achieving your goal. And what we all say is sometimes insanity is doing the same things over and over, harder, deeper, with more concentration, and then you expect a different result each time. And one of the things I'll always remember is and I may have mentioned him, but I will, because he had such a profound impact on my life. My oversight mentor, who has now passed away during COVID in 2021, actually 2 years ago now. And he used to say, when it comes to bringing focus to what it is you are doing towards achieving your goals, you know, it's very easy to say to somebody, listen, you just need to focus. But what do you need? We're so wired differently, all of us, that just merely saying to somebody you need to be more focused does not necessarily do the trick. So he would say a good coach would do this instead and use the analogy of a tennis player. It's like somebody who continually, as a tennis player, hits the ball out of the court, never hits the ball over the net, never returns it in a way. So it's like these one-shot rallies. And he says, the obvious answer is to say to the player, you need to watch your ball, because it's clear to the coach that he can see that the player is taking their eyes off the ball. So easier said than done. If, interestingly enough, is to say to somebody, well, just watch the ball, watch the ball. So what I want to introduce is, in this analogy, is as a coach, is to generate curiosity. The player mostly, and this is really true for all of us in real context, is we know what we ought to do, it's just we don't know how to do it. So starting with generating curiosity. And what do I mean by this? Is rather than just merely stating the obvious of keeping your eye on the ball, the coach says to the player, all right, and here's a task for you. I want you to, before you hit the ball, you need to be able to determine which way the ball is spinning. So now the player, guess what, has to carefully watch the ball in order to determine which way it is spinning. So number one, he's keeping his eye on the ball. And number two, he's connecting with the ball. His racket, in fact, is connecting with the ball that neutralizes the way the ball is spinning or not spinning. And do you know what the outcome is? He starts hitting the ball and returning the ball over the net. If the ball is spinning, he knows, he has to counter slice and do all kinds of other technical things. The point is, and with the whole adage of focus, is not just good enough to say focus. It is remembering that you got to be present in your situation and see which way your circumstances are spinning. Are they external or are they internal? What's happening that either you've got to respond to that is external, or what impact are you making that causes your context to spin a certain way? But be curious. And so people would say curiosity kills the cat, but let me tell you, is curiosity in this case feeds the cat. And what's it? Why do you want to be curious? Well, I want to focus on the kinds of things that are preventing me from achieving my goals. So therefore, let me find out how my context is spinning. When we start taking steps towards a goal, we are changing something, right? We're affecting change. And so what is the impact of that step? Is it going in the way that we are anticipating it is going, right? Is it aligning? Is it pointing in the right direction? So stay present, right? And this is why he talks about active attention. And, when it comes to self-control, the desire to be distracted, something just outside of your eye line, wants you to look at that thing that's happening there, but rather with focused attention, stay connected to what it is happening within your context as you take active steps. Shanaz is saying taking a pause is a great phrase. Absolutely. if you don't, how are you then going to self-reflect? What is happening here? And I have over all these years realized that when we talk about situation analysis, when people talk about what is your current reality, what sits in that space, what is happening. Sometimes we try not to, we don't want to answer that, because if we do, we might be concerned that we might become discouraged, etc. But having an appreciation of what's happening in your world as you take active steps towards achieving your goals. You did that before you launched into it, so because you had an appreciation, but doing it dynamically means, as you take the steps, is going, okay, am I reducing the things that are barriers to my success? How well am I harnessing those things that boosts my success, that helps me achieve my success? Am I focused on harnessing my strengths, for example, or am I focused on trying to work on my weaknesses, and at the very best only get to 50% of that? So like 80% of my effort is spent on improving my weaknesses, when actually life becomes more effortless, or it feels more effortless when I'm operating in a particular strength. So so that active attention, right? Paying active attention to what is happening in your context is the key. So another yeah, Shanaz, thank you for the feedback. And another aspect that he sort of centers on is practice open awareness. And he even calls it like mind wandering towards something valuable. Now, remember, I spoke about do not be distracted and all these kinds of things. Now he talks about practice mind wandering. But the self control aspect that remains is mind wandering toward what it is you want to achieve, not mind wandering that takes you away from something you want. So it's like aimless dreaming, is directed dreaming. Now that's not what he calls it, that's what I'm calling it. It's directed dreaming, if you like. But you got to kind of access the intuitive, the creative, right, through this directive type of dreaming, as opposed to having just a narrow focus or a goal orientated type of attention. I shall achieve, and off we go. Now, why this is important, and here's the thing, is the relevance. I'm not attacking what we know works, but I'm saying situationally there comes a time when we do get to a place where something is just not working, and we feel there's no progress. We're not going towards the place we want to be. This goal seems to be constantly out of reach, or there's just something in our environment that's causing us not to move forward. So first pass from the previous conversation is that we now know what it is that's causing it. So it may be something that we've never dealt with before. So now how do you deal with something that you've never dealt with before? This is where you practice this mind wandering technique. All right. Why? Because you want to access creative thinking, right? To think out of the box. And many times when we talk about this, it is literally thinking out of your paradigm, whatever whatever your place of familiarization is. Otherwise, whatever your comfort zone is, whatever whatever you experience in wisdom, those things that, after a long time you've gathered, you got to think out of those things. So it's no longer out of what you know. You now got to explore what you don't know and possibilities. And so the directed dreaming has to kick in. And how do you do this, Shanaz, is that you pause. You got to find that moment in a day, in a week, in a month, to just slow down and reflect. Now, this is an old phrase, and people don't maybe resonate or understand this phrase anymore, but in order for you to smell the roses, you can't zoom past it. You gotta slow down. And in some cases, well, in most cases, more than slowing down, you gotta stop, bend down, and smell, right? In this way, when you slow down your activity to allow the creative thinking to start taking root, what is it that happens? It allows for flashes of insight, inventive and original thinking, right? Drawing on possibilities, not drawing on realities and the analysis of realities, right? Which has its place, mind you. I'm just saying is that when you have to think out of the box, you gotta slow down. You don't think out of the box when you feel the pressure and then you react to the pressure, and in a way you find yourself in a stressful state, and as Shanaz was talking about last week, you find yourself burnt out. No, slow your life down. Yes, you can. So here you deliberately distract yourself, right? With especially when you're losing valuable momentum towards that goal, is take the time out, go for a walk, go for a jog, cycle, swim, even feed the ducks. And I spoke about watching the sunset or the sunrise. But anything that would open up your mind and allow this directed dreaming or mind wandering to take place. All right, so where you want to go to is therefore developing this inner focus that is strong, that is motivated, that it is determined, right? And these things constitutes a very strong willpower. You know, the more challenging the goal, the more willpower you will need. And the more your willpower increases, the greater your self control becomes. And this is how we close the cycle from having active attention to practicing self control, is to have willpower. Now, the author says the most effective way to develop willpower is to do what you love, right? And this motivates you to pursue your goals with determination. The effort, the price you have to pay, the pain that you have to undergo becomes worth it. Those endorphins kick in, and you say, if there is no gain, if there is no pain, it's like, but you enjoy and you care about the results of your work. And the other thing about doing what you love is let your work reflect your personal values. I'm amazed that the time has just flown by here. I just want to end over that while you're developing this inner focus through having strong willpower that leads to greater self-control, you also develop outer focus. And I'm just going to depart from the book as far as this is concerned and just use the biker analogy. If the goal, now one of the challenges that a biker faces is how to make a corner without reducing speed, keeping the speed and staying alive, and as simple as this might sound, is as a biker myself, is understanding that you got to navigate a bend in order for you to arrive beyond the bend. So the focus might be, okay, let me brace myself to make this bend safely, and I can do all kinds of things. Unfortunately, when you start focusing on making the bend, you do slow down. In other cases, because you are looking at the bend rather than looking at beyond the bend, chances are you're going to hit the bend. So bend management requires you to practice self-control and do what is not natural, is to not look at the challenge right in front of you that you got to navigate, is to look at the point beyond the bend. Where do I want to be beyond the bend? So you got to focus on the point beyond the bend while you are never, I'm telling you, it takes some discipline to do so, but it's quite miraculous. When you focus on the point beyond the bend, everything in you, your whole body positioning lines up. So your where you look, that's where everything lines up. And so the bend itself become a non-issue, and it's as if the road just straightens out. And instead of slowing down, you might even pick up some speed. Speeding through the bend. So, out of focus, look beyond the challenges. Meaning, look at the bigger picture that you want to achieve. You will find that there won't be a slowing down in your momentum. In actual fact, you might continue to experience an acceleration in your momentum towards achieving your goals. And that is where I'm going to leave it for today. Shanaz, any thoughts?
Thank you, Jacques. There were so many little golden nuggets. I'm going to go back and when it's available online, go and make some notes. I couldn't keep up, but I really like the bike analogy that you gave now about managing. Looking beyond the bend. I also like the idea of directed dreaming. But then you sort of connected it with the focusing, and I think I got my motivation for Monday that I need to look beyond the bend, and that it's okay to dream, and but as long as it's directed dreaming. So thank you. Yeah, this is really good. Yeah, that's me. Thanks.
No, no, excellent. Your ability just to synthesize is always so refreshing. So, yes, for everybody who's listening, dream with an end in mind. Make sure there's alignment and don't be distracted by the bend in your life. And until next time, take care and ciao for now.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye.